Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream. I think we finally figured it out. This is my wife, Vedenice. If you don't know her, most people call her V, as in the letter V for short. V is in victory. If you have any questions, please feel free to add them in the chat. This is a question and answer session. Just a chance for us to give you some information about us, for you to ask questions to us. If somebody's on here, please put something in the chat along the lines of you're seeing us and hearing us. We were having some issues with the microphone earlier. I know that we'll have a delay. Hey, Miss Hernandez, good to see you in here. Who all is watching with you guys?
Oh, there's Copperhead. Hello, Copperhead.
Daniel and family, good to see you. Strong enough to bend. Welcome to the channel. This is exciting. So if you don't know, this is our first live stream. I'll probably say that 10 times, but this is kind of momentous for us. We've watched a lot of other live streamers, and we really enjoy this kind of format where we get to interact with you guys. In the near future, we would like to do a, the Zoom platform where we can add other users in and interact with them in like a video type chat, kind of like a Zoom. So this is kind of the precursor to that. Just you, says Miss Hernandez, aka Chitcher.
Yep, and Copperhead says also this is just me.
So he's waiting for Rua to get home from work. So yeah, if you guys, you other folks that are in the chat aren't familiar with Copperhead Road Homestead, we met them in September at a homesteading picnic, something that was put on by Stringfield Ridge Homestead, and they have a Facebook page called Heartland Homesteaders. We actually found out about that just before it happened. I'll have to make Daniel a moderator so he can help me out. Actually, one of the reasons that I picked this time slot was because I'm always this time of day on a Sunday afternoon, I'm always waiting for Daniel and Rua to come on so I can watch their live stream. So I figured, hey, I'm already here. I'm already kind of waiting. This will be a perfect slot. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of other activity going on at this time slot. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. A lot of the times, you see YouTube videos. It's, and I'll admit to it. A lot of times our videos are somewhat staged, where we have the opportunity. Sometimes it's kind of fake, but we do have the ability to show only the positive side or show only what we want you to see. We try and be honest to the most of our ability, but everybody, if you go into editing, you have editing software, you have the ability to fix video, you have the ability to make things look the way you like.
I don't think it's fake. I think it's more just the highlights. So Copperhead asked if we're from Arizona. That is correct. We are originally from Arizona. We moved here a little over a year now. We actually just celebrated a year, and that's exciting. Time flew by very fast. When we first moved here, I'm like, oh my goodness, the weather, days are dragging. But yeah, we've been here a year now. So yeah, to Copperhead, to answer your other question, we've been in Kentucky for over a year now. It was in November, a year.
Yeah, so we purchased our house in, I think it was like 2 or 3 days after Thanksgiving last year. And then we got here. We were actually living with a couple up in Louisville. They say it Louisville around here, and Louisville, Kentucky, with the Coxes.
Yeah.
Hi, Jenna.
I say it's
oh,
Jessie.
that's Jessie.
It's Jessie
Jessie
and my
Conrad.
sister both asked. Vanessa asked, "Where are the kiddos?" So they are living it up right now, and they're in the RV watching videos. I didn't think about having them come over.
Yeah, I actually mentioned to them and asked them if they wanted to come. So let me get back to the time frame when we moved in, just to document that for whoever else comes along. This is another thing. So the live stream is live right now, but anything you guys say, that'll be recorded. So when somebody comes out, this will be an actual official YouTube video. So our Backwood Homesteads, we welcome you. So we got our house. We closed on it a couple days after Thanksgiving last year. And then we were still living with this family in Louisville. So it took a little while for us to finally get to move over here. We had an RV that we were staying in there, and we moved the RV here. And then there was kind of some shuffling in December. I think it was probably December 15th, somewhere in the middle of December. We went down to Tucson, kind of to spend Christmas with the family, and also to basically collect all of our stuff and get ready to move it back to Kentucky. So then we got back to Kentucky, got back to the homestead January of this year. So we are kind of coming up on a year. In January, it's more of like when we actually got started into the homestead. A couple more new people in here. We have Backwood Homestead. We also met Backwood Homestead on at the Heartland Heritage Picnic. Good to see you in here, Backwood Homestead.
The Anderson Homestead.
The Anderson Homestead. We just recently connected with the Andersons, Pete and Melody there. It's good to see you guys here. Oh, and the kids are watching also. So hopefully we get to meet up with the Andersons. I've been texting a lot lately with Pete, and we're going to set up something pretty soon, maybe even this week, but I will contact you about that, Pete. Anna from 4-Day Homestead. Anna, welcome to the chit chat. Nate, my old pal, what a surprise to see you here. Hey, Nate, I used to work with Nate, and Nate's an electrician, and good to see you here, Nate. Jenna's here. Hello,
yeah,
Jenna.
That one is Jenna.
That is actually Jenna. That's not Jessie. Hi, Jenna. Jenna, welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you found us. Micro Farmer in Connecticut. Welcome to the channel. Micro Farmer just did a video on chickens, and we just watched that a couple hours ago. Welcome to the show. We love you too, Jenna. Thanks for your support. And are the kids watching with you? You got your boys with you watching, Jenna? Nate, we are doing well. We've been planning this for a long time. I'm not sure if I really had a chance to share our plans with you, Nate. But this what you're seeing right now is the fruition of something that kind of was a seed probably 11 to 12 years ago when we lived in Tucson. When we got married in 2007, so that was 13 years ago. And a couple years after that, hello, Angela, welcome.
Hi, Angela.
Angela is a huge supporter of the channel. So in 2007, we got married, and then a couple years after that, we were kind of looking around, and if you haven't and you don't, you should do this. We said to ourselves, what is our 10-year plan? What is our 5-year plan? Where do we want to be? Do we want to be living in this location? So just to give you a little explanation of the scenario that we were in, I was making pretty decent money, and we bought a house that was just a little under $200,000. It was in a real nice community. If you're from the Tucson area, it was off of Colburn I-10, Sycamore Park, and we bought at the top of the market. The housing, housing market was really overinflated, but it was a house that we could afford. Even in that community, it was a very modest house. It was a nice house, brand new build. But a couple years, like I said, after we got married, so somewhere around 2009, we got to the point where we were like, you know what? Where do we want to be? And we started really asking those kind of questions. Is this what we want to do? We started looking at, our debt to income ratio. And one thing that really opened our eyes up, if you've never done this and you make a mortgage payment, is figure out, there's mortgage calculators, figure out how much you are actually going to pay for a house over the course of that mortgage. So we took a look at that amount, and for our $190,000 property, for our mortgage, at the end of 30 years, we would have paid almost $500,000 for that. So I think it was like $489,000. And that was kind of a wake-up call to us. We said to ourselves, we can work a lot, and we can be stuck with this ball and chain for a long time, or we can make some decisions to change some things. And that's what we did. So that was the beginning of that. I would say probably somewhere around 2009, after the housing market dropped out and kind of had that whole economic crash, that really got us looking at things. And so we started making changes. And this, like I said, what you're seeing now, us in Kentucky, is the end result of that. So Micro Farmer asked, where are we at? So we're located just 30 minutes east of Glasgow, Kentucky. You can Google that. Glasgow is one of the major cities. It's probably got 12,000 people in it. So somebody asked earlier, the Andersons asked, explain how much y'all like the heat here. Was it a hard transition? Haha. So
I know for me, the transition was the rain. I remember when we first moved here, being a desert rat, I'm like, 30 minutes, rain will be over. I can go out and do my thing. And no, that is not the case. Like, it rained and rained. And like hours later, I look out, I'm like, it's still raining. And then just like, for me, stuff would be wet. Like, I'd touch, surfaces. I'm like, why is this area wet? And I asked the kids, hey, did you drop something? And some areas I knew they didn't drop. So that was a bit of a transition, just the humidity, dealing with that stuff, and like things against the wall would get wet. The heat, it wasn't too bad on the humidity.
Yeah, so the heat, as far as temperature goes, Tucson, Arizona has higher temperatures number-wise. Like, it wasn't uncommon for there to be digits or temperatures in the triple digits, which would be, 110, 115 degrees is not unheard of. So there is a huge difference in the humidity, though. The humidity is a lot higher here. average humidity in Tucson was probably 30% humidity. Lala Farm, it's good to see you in here. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, the humidity is much different. You really notice the humidity when you start getting into harder labor because you fatigue faster. You know, a lot of the work that we're doing on the homestead is outside, and peak project season, peak production season for growing stuff is, you know, when the humidity and the heat is the highest in the summer. So that's when you really feel it, when you start exerting yourself and you start sweating. I think a lot of it has to do with oxygen levels. You know, you're breathing and you just can't take in as much oxygen because there's so much moisture in the air. So that has something to do with it. I don't know the exact science behind it, but the humidity is definitely a factor. You know, people say, oh, the humanity. And the joke around here is, oh, the humidity. I tell my kids all the time, you know, the humidity. But my wife, like what my wife was saying earlier, you know, nothing really ever dries out here. It's kind of weird. Like even if you take a bath towel that's been sitting there, nobody's used it for a day or two, and the towel is already a little damp. And you kind of have to be careful, especially now that it's cold out, when you're running the heat inside. You know, the windows will be dripping water. Yeah, Lala Farm, you made our first one, and you guys have been an inspiration to us. I really appreciate you coming once again. See if there was any other questions.
I know Vanessa said earlier that we were fake, and so we had fake plants. And then Vanessa, that one made me laugh because I'm on no fake plants. So yeah, you meant to say more. It's our highlights. We share our highlights and not necessarily the everyday stuff.
Yeah, my whole point was, you know, we have the ability to be selective, and you know, in this context, I think it's a lot more real. You know, you can interact with somebody a lot better. I like it. So we've been wanting to do this for a while.
He's been wanting to. I haven't. I actually have been dreading. He's like, let's do a live stream. I'm like, no, I don't want to. A lot of it's just because I get nervous and scatterbrained, and that's one of the reasons why I just kind of see myself and get nervous.
So Copperhead Homestead, Copperhead Road asks, what kind of work do we do for now? So actually, I was just watching Justin Rhodes' channel, and he had a thing that had an intro. The first maybe 4 or 5 minutes to that video was by Joel Salatin, and it was just a couple of days ago. He was talking about, I don't remember the exact title of the video, but he was talking about how to start up a homestead or how to start up a farm. And one of the things that Joel Salatin recommended as the startup plan was to have at least 1 year of income saved up, if possible 2 years. So that's what we started out with, aiming for 1 year of savings, so that we could really establish the homestead, focus on the homestead, and not get lost and fall right back into the rat race, you know, fall back into working a job and start that cycle all over again. So we haven't had to do that yet. So currently what we do, what I do, is I pick up different kinds of jobs. If any of you have moved to a new location, you know, normally you want to have a job set up, and a lot of the people that we told about doing this said, "Oh, okay, you're going over there. So where are you going to be working over there?" You know, we didn't have a job set up, but our plan was, you know, for that first year, which we're coming up to now, was to be able to focus on the homestead. You know, not to gloat or not to boast or anything, but I believe that we have enough skills. I have enough skills that we can make an income, and there's plenty of opportunities available, even in such a small location. The town that we live in is actually under 300 people population in our little town. So what I am currently doing for income is basically, as I network and talk to people around me, I tell them, hey, if you have something that you need help on, if you need work, I'm available to do that. So, back during the summer, it was tobacco season, and we have a neighbor that that has some tobacco contracts. So I did some work tobacco for a day. I've done tree trimming. I've done drywall work. I've done, just different little odd jobs just to keep some kind of income in, and that has begun to snowball. So then, one thing that I always do, um, is I always say, if you know of somebody else that needs some work done, let me know. So that's begun to grow. I did a little drywall job at a church, and then from that, somebody there said, hey, I'm going to need my house painted in a couple months. Can you do that for me? So right now I'm just picking up odd jobs. So we don't have a set future plan. We have so many options right now. YouTube is a very uh, small possibility, but for now, that's what we're doing. So I would sum that up by saying basically doing odd jobs is our current income.
Yeah, and it's funny because a couple of our neighbors came by a couple times, and we showed them the craft room, which is the room that we're in right now. And we joked that it became kind of like a showroom because our neighbor would be like, hey, so-and-so told me about your craft room. So we would bring them in here, and I'm like, well, we didn't expect it to be that way, but it kind of turned out that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were both born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. So this is actually a major move for us. And I'm 41 years old. I won't tell you my wife's age, but she's a little younger than I am. But my point in saying that is that it's a drastic move, and if you're going to do something like this, one of the first things you have to do is start networking right away. you know it was kind of strange because um we were here for a couple days and nobody was coming by, so we just started going and knocking on our neighbors' doors and saying, hey, we're new to the neighborhood, and just started building that connection with them right away. And then, once you start talking to somebody, they'll say, hey, did you meet this person? Or they'll say, hey, stay away from that person, or whatever it may be. But once you get that network going, I really believe, this is one of the reasons that we wanted to do the live stream, is that that's one of your most valuable resources is your network and that group of people that you're building your life together with them. So we really view our neighbors as very valuable to us.
Yeah, and they've even come to the point that they'll come and visit us, and they're like, hey, we just wanted to stop by. And some of the neighbors brought candy for the kids. So Vanessa Hernandez asked, how has it been being far from family and familiar location? How does Kentucky feel? Does Kentucky feel like home now? And then Angela asked, to live your dream. So both of them are kind of the same. So to answer that question, when we first moved here, I was like, I got this. Like, I've been mentally preparing. We're like, we're going to move, and we've been kind of mentally preparing. And I thought I was like ready. I'm like, I got this. When we moved, it ended up being more of a shock for me. I'm not really sure why it hit me particular so hard. Part of it, I think, is we had no internet, no cell service for a little bit. When we first moved here, where we live is kind of like a dead zone. Some spots in our neighborhood, there are service, but where we live, there was no cell service. And so I didn't know anything. And like even Googling, we didn't have no Google. And so the kids would be like, what's the weather like? Or what's this word? Or what's this? I'm like, I don't even know. We don't even have Google. So that was hard. And then it was hard just being out of the loop with my family, with my sisters and my mom. We have an ongoing text message So every day we're just constantly texting. I'm really bad at responding to them. I have to set like time aside, like an hour. I'm like, okay, I'm going to answer text messages, and I'll get my notebook and I'll start like reading their text messages and making notes and responding to them. But we do keep in contact, and that's a really nice lifeline. Then one thing that God's really been challenging me is to actually call them, because it's different just from text messaging. It's different to call them. And so every once in a while, I'll just call someone, one of my sisters randomly, or a friend, and just kind of catch up with them. We also have Marco Polo. Marco Polo's been helping contact. The kids really miss their cousins. There's days that they're just like, I wish I was back in Tucson. And then other days they're fine. I think it's just coming to an adjustment that we're no longer near our family because we are so close. And so just trying to find different avenues to stay connected.
Yeah, so with technology the way it is, it does make that distance seem a lot less. You know, if you were to go back 5 to 10 years ago, it definitely would have been a lot more drastic. And like I said, we were in Tucson in January of this last Christmas season. So, you know, we don't plan on just moving over here and just just staying here and never visiting anyone. It's also been nice because we have the Coxes, Bill and Allison Cox, that are 2 hours from us, and they come down quite a bit. Let me see. There was another question that Copperhead Road Homestead answered. How big is the farm? So the property that we're on is 8 acres. So right now we're utilizing probably about 3 or 4 of those acres. We're running sheep in about 4 acres. So there's another 4 acres lower. As we've lived here for a longer period of time, going on a year now, we've really learned that, you know, what areas stay wet longer, where the water flows, and how the water is distributed throughout the property. We have 2 ponds lower on the property, and below both of those ponds, it stays pretty damp for quite a bit of the year, you know. For as long as we've been here, you know, only a year, but it's been a pretty wet year. So having areas that are damp for a majority of the year can be beneficial when it's dry, but right now we have to kind of keep the animals out of there. We have to keep the sheep out of there. We can't run chickens in there. It's not so damp that you know, it's unusable. You know, I see a lot of other homesteaders where it's just not usable. It's not like swampland or anything. But property wise, I'd say there's probably about 2 acres that we couldn't put structures on, or we wouldn't really want to do anything permanent on. It's just too low. And
so Girly says, we miss you. We miss you too. Miss you a lot. We really, really do. Especially around the holidays. The kids are like, I want to see them. And Paul's dad and mom was just here. And that was really nice having them here for about 2 weeks and just spending time with them. We had some adventures that snowed. And so the kids were able to play in the snow with them. So Jesse Conrad asked, how do we think the move impacted the children in the long run? I actually have seen a great improvement in them and just in us in general. I think like a different, it's not really maturity, but it's just like their skills have improved a lot. They're becoming a lot more independent, creative, just things that they come up with. They'll make something. And so just seeing them flourish under that. So I think in the long run, it's going to really help them to be independent and creative and resourceful and really seeing how things work and getting, you know, their hands dirty. And I think in the long run, it's really going to help them. We have been blessed. We have neighbors that have kids like right down the street, and then the church that we attend locally, they really connected with the kids, and so we are getting like a little network of kids and just like friends for them. So I think in the long run, it will help them. Like Paul said, we do have some friends up in Louisville that we go up and visit. And so there has been times I'm like, I need a friend, just like a friend near me. And we'll drive up there and we'll make a day of it. And we won't just go up there. We'll go to the stores and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times I think people fear that, your kids, if you have them in a more remote location, that they're going to become kind of weird. And, I've met kids that get like that where they don't have a lot of social interaction. But if you've met our kids, you know that I'll be honest with you, they're more social than I am. And they're ready to interact at the drop of a hat. I mean, sometimes I go out and they're already mid-conversation and they're introducing me to people that they're talking to. So we don't have any worries about them being social. We're trying to raise them right, and in the long run, in the mindset, we're trying to build them up so that they're able to be productive adults, and they're able to have the integrity and the wherewithal to live on their own and be godly, functioning, self-sufficient individuals on their own, so that what we're trying to teach them most importantly is their character. We do homeschool them, and my wife does an excellent job of educating them. I'll tell you that she puts in some serious work, and she is very dedicated to seeing them educated. They have a first-class education going on here on the Homestead. And if you ever have or have any questions on homeschooling, she's done that from day one. So feel free to pick her brain. We can do a lot with 8 acres, Daniel, and we're actually at the point now that after year one, this was kind of our observation year. So we were kind of waiting to see each season through and really observe, what happens during a rainy season, what happens when it gets really cold, what happens when it's really hot, where does the sun lie in relationship to different pieces of the property. Luckily for us, our property does not have a lot of woods, so we didn't have to clear a lot of stuff. Woods can be a great resource, but if your main objective is to grow plants and animals on pasture, it can be difficult. We don't have any large equipment. We don't have tractors or anything like that we could clear out a large woods very much. But we actually have a property across the street. Well, we don't have it. There's a property across the street that has about 80 acres of woods, and we've made good relationship with the gentleman that lives there. So we go in and out there when we want our fix of the woods, which is pretty neat. We get to wander around over there and not have to, we don't even have to own the woods, but we can go wander around in the woods whenever we like. So, yeah, Alicia, we miss you. Love you.
Yeah, Copperhead said that our kids are the ones that introduced us, and it's true. When I read it, it kind of made me chuckle because I'm like, it's true. I remember they're like, okay, so this is the other homestead. I'm like, oh my gosh, we just got here.
Yeah, so that's a perfect example. So when we were at that picnic where we met Copperhead, Daniel and his family, the kids were already out there networking before we had even got a chance to. Lala Farm says it's great to see how well thought out your transition has been. I've interacted with many channels to simply follow the herd mentality without having the infrastructure in place first. I appreciate the compliment. We don't claim to know it all. We're definitely learning. I actually had a video and then I ended up taking this out because it was getting too long. I went on a little rant or a little thought that I had, and that was, if our videos come across like, we're here to show everybody and tell everybody this is how to do it, that's definitely not what we intend. One of our main ideas is, or one of our main goals is to educate. So it is on that basis, that we learn something and then we try and, proficiently show that, hey, this is how we did it, and try and encourage people, this is how you can do it. So
share our experiences.
yeah, share our experiences, but we definitely we're definitely learning as we go. Permaculture: observe and interact first. So yeah, I actually read a quote just I think it was about a month ago, and it really hit home, and it said, not every observation requires a reaction. So a lot of times, welcome, Simply Jen Homestead. Jen, it's good to see you. Jen has been an inspiration to us. Thanks for being here, Jen, and thanks for your continued support. So not every observation requires a reaction, and that really hit home to me, because it takes some patience to really sit there and learn. A lot of times I want to just get in there like, okay, yeah, let's just start building. Let's just start doing this. But this coming year really is going to be a year that, now that we've been here, we're gonna start putting into place some more permanent systems. If you guys have followed our channel, you know that we've run chicken tractors, and we've run the sheep around the property. But that was kind of just a holdover to kind of keep the grass and the brush at bay until we really had a solid plan to put things in a more permanent location. Like the garden. The garden was one of those things where we had to decide, is this a place where this is going to stay pretty much forever? Because we were doing fencing and we didn't want to have to take that out. But
and then too, you wanted to see what was here, because when we first moved here, it was the winter time, and so I know there was several times, and I'm like, Paul, chop this out, take it out. I don't know what it is, just chop it out.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I want to see, what it looks like when things begin to grow. And I'm glad that he did not heed my advice, because couple of times there was something that I saw that was ugly. And being a desert rat, I'm not used to seeing certain flowers or whatnot. But the people that lived here really liked flowers. And so it was really neat during the spring to see things come up. And I would tell him, it's almost like a treasure hunt. Like I'm walking and I'm like, oh, there's, lily over here, or there's this over here. And so I was really glad that he didn't just start whacking stuff out like I said, because we were able to really enjoy a lot of that. So I know that's one thing he really wanted to wait, and just to see how things reacted throughout the year, just kind of like the wetness and
yeah. So like she said, we came here in the winter, and it was hard to identify a lot of things, and then a lot of the perennials that die back below ground. Like she's saying, like there was a patch of daffodils that we had no idea was there, but we were going to just clear out this whole area, or we had talked about it, and we waited till spring, and then we found fruit trees as well. We found a couple peach trees. There were trees that were along this fence row that we thought were just a bunch of trash trees, and it turned out to be some fruit trees in there. We found a apricot in there, and I think a mulberry in there as well that we would probably just have cleared out because it was along the fence row. Another thing that we kind of waited on was the blackberries, and I kind of wish we had cut them all out when it was last winter, but yeah, everybody that came over and we asked about them, we said, hey, so what's the deal with these blackberries around here? And they're like, oh yeah, you have wild blackberries. You should be so happy about that. Well, they turned out to be for the amount of fruit that we got out of them. And if you've ever eaten wild blackberries, they're kind of bitter and they're very invasive. They pop up and they keep going down and then they'll come back up. And we're going to be eradicating a lot of blackberries. So blackberries are one thing that we learned about this year.
And to go along with it, I know Angela asked about food processing. So it's interesting because back in Tucson, like I kind of dabbled in canning and, it's like, just kind of getting my toes wet into it. And then we came here and it's not like a hobby here. Like it's a way of living. I was surprised to find out how many neighbors canned and freezed. And I remember like I have a few cans in boxes and Paul bought a can to process things. And I was like, oh yeah, we're ready. And then COVID hit and it was so hard to find anything in the store, even just lids. And so I haven't done a whole lot of food processing stuff because I'm still kind of learning how the process works itself. As far as the sweet potatoes, so I know that actually some Chinese people that we know, some friends in New York saw the video and they're like, sweet potatoes. And so when my in-laws came, they actually had an order with them and they took them back. And then my father-in-law was like, so have you been doing da-da-da with sweet potatoes? I'm like, those are all really good ideas. Let's start cooking more. So we normally don't cook with sweet potatoes. So he really wanted to start eating them. And so that's the reason why he planted them. And so it's me, the cooker, that has to start adding it more into the menu. A lot of it too is we had to wait until they were cured. I was looking, thank you, couldn't remember the word, until they're cured. So we have some sweet potatoes lined up on the menu pretty soon, but we still have quite a bit of sweet potatoes.
Yeah, we have probably another 300 pounds of sweet potatoes. One thing that we've learned on the sweet potatoes is that if they're not of substantial size, if they're not probably about, actually this water bottle is a good example. If they're not at least about that big, they kind of fluctuate in moisture content. So when they're smaller, especially the stringier ones that are maybe only a couple inches, those ones kind of shrivel up during that curing process, where the larger ones, they have the ability, I think it's just the mass of the sweet potato. I haven't really studied it out, but what we've been doing is taking those smaller ones and just giving those to the chickens before they go bad. So
and then we did use some for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we used some for Thanksgiving. My wife made mashed sweet potatoes, which was really good. Basically, you just make it the same as mashed potatoes, but with sweet potatoes, and that was good.
And my father-in-law did like a dessert almost with this sweet potatoes. That was really good.
Yeah.
Had some marshmallows and stuff.
Yeah, Grandpa blessed us. He visited us for Thanksgiving and really made it special for us, so we weren't all alone, all on our lonesome. So it was good having my dad and stepmom here. They've been a blessing to us. They've really supported us. Dad, if you're watching this, thank you.
Yeah, so Simply Jan said that I can make some jam. So I actually I'm kind of scared.
Potato jam?
With the blackberries. She mentioned, because we talked about blackberries. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever read the part in Little Women where Meg is frustrated and she's like, the jelly won't gel. So I had an incident like that. And so I've been kind of scared about canning a whole bunch of berries and stuff, because the one time that I did do it, it just didn't gel. It was just very watery, and I watched tons of video and I'm like, maybe I need more sugar, maybe I need more of this. And so I have to do trial and error kind of a thing, and I've been dragging my feet. So it comes down to
Yeah, the takeaway on blackberries is they're okay in the wild areas, especially off our property. They're real nice. There's some areas where we can go and forage them, basically take them out of the wild and not have to maintain them ourselves or really deal with them. So we had some, if you've seen any of the aerial views of our property, which there aren't a lot of, but if you have seen them, there's kind of a fence road that divides our property in half between the east side of the property and the west side. And there's quite a few patches. So we let those stay this last year just to kind of see. And having to deal with them, we really learned that we did not want them in anywhere that we're really accessing. So if you're in permaculture, you probably want those in like zone 4 or 5, and they were in our zone 1 and 2. So we're definitely going to be cutting a lot of those out. Like I said, we do have access to them, so we're not really losing them. We don't see that we're losing them. There's some places on the perimeter of the property too where they grow quite a bit, and we can do some to basically allow them to stay and do a little better there, and not have so many where we have to get poked by them.
Yeah, and our friend from Louisville too has asked for a couple of the vines. She's like, I guess they're really good for cats. Yeah, and then we're like, you don't want them. She's like, no, I want them. I read one. I meant to comment. Where did it go? Lala Farm mentioned that they just watched the original Little Women today. I wonder if that's the one with Winona Ryder. That one's my favorite. I know the one with Liv Taylor is out there too, but the one with Winona Ryder is definitely my favorite. We watched the other one with the kids, and they're like, what is this? I don't like it. And I'm like, oh, you guys are spoiled. The problem is that one's so good.
Yeah, so we're going to cut out here in about 7 minutes at about 7:55 our time. So this has gone by extremely fast. I actually thought that we'd be sitting here with a lot of dead air, just going like, okay, nobody's in here and we're just sitting here. But we really do appreciate your guys' support. We appreciate your feedback. Any constructive criticism that you want to give is greatly appreciated. What else do we have here? Gotta run. Lala Farm. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And just as a little plug for Lala Farm, we just recently found Lala Farm probably about 3 weeks ago, and they do a lot to help the homestead community, especially by the way of technical support, helping those. There's a lot of homesteaders that don't have the best technological skills. You know, they don't understand internet software and different things that can help them, and they really help the homestead community by helping smaller YouTube channels. We're actually scheduled to go on to a live stream similar to this, where they have an interview and they bring on different smaller homesteads under 1,000 subscribers to help promote them. So we really appreciate Lala Farms and all they do for this community. That's one thing that we've also really, yeah. All right, Angela. Weird, but not too weird.
Copperhead is saying too that they're going to be going soon for their live stream. So yes, we will be joining the live stream for you guys soon. Yeah,
so all of you that are here, if you see Copperhead Road Homestead in the chat there, we've built a good relationship with them. They're about 3 hours away from us. They're also in Kentucky, and we share a lot of information, Daniel and I. Daniel's into permaculture. He's got quite a bit more property than us, but we're both doing something very similar, and we have a family that's very similar, and we relate together pretty good. So
Angela's comment made us thought I like the little dino. We actually kept meaning to put that in the video about his shirt because his sister gave it to him, and people kept saying, "So, what about your dinosaur?" We finally did the video. We're like, Angela keeps asking. I'm so glad we're finally gonna post it. So I think of you, Angela, every time he wears that shirt. He's even gotten like older people stopping him at the store.
Yeah.
And he's very sweet. He does do it for them.
Yeah, a guy at Lowe's the other day, he was saying T-Rex, he was talking about some rock and roll band. He's like, "You like rock and roll?" And I was like, I guess there's a rock and roll band named T-Rex or something along those lines. So I have to research that. But I turned around and then I have to make sure when I'm wearing that shirt, I have an undershirt or I show off my stomach. But I spun around and I put my shirt over my head and then I turned back around and I gave him a ah, and his wife just started laughing and then I think it made his day. So we stay weird, weird enough. So yeah, just so you know, and I don't know if I finished this thought, but we'll be headed over to Copperhead's live stream right after this, which like I said early on in the broadcast, I listen to me saying broadcast like this is some big production, but early on this live stream, we mentioned that one of the reasons we picked this time slot was because we're usually waiting to watch Copperhead Ranch's live show. Simply Jan asked, what will be the next animal or animals that you get? As far as new animals, we don't really have any plans for new animals. We have sheep right now. We have 11 sheep, and we just started the breeding process for that. December 1st, we put the ram in with the ewes, or the male in with the females. So yeah, actually pigs, believe it or not, this morning I was doing some research on pigs. I like to collect as much information before we make a choice. But I have been looking for some pigs. Pigs are nice because they're kind of a catch-all. William Conrad, is that William Conrad? My dad, William Conrad, or is that
I think it's your dad
my
because he says
cousin?
bees.
Bees.
he told us last time you should get bees.
Yeah, so there's a breed of pig that's called the Kune. It's spelled Kune, Kune, and they're a smaller pig. They're known as a Homestead pig, and those might work out nice for us. So that's one thing that we have to consider is, how does it fit into what we're doing? One thing that we don't want to do is bring something on that's a burden. On the homestead, everything has to produce. It has to have a reason. It can't just be a pet or a fun little thing unless it has a at least, like if you had a pet dog, you could have puppies and you could sell their pups and have some kind of income. But just a purely like a horse, we couldn't justify a horse unless we were getting some kind of work out of it or something like that. But this is gonna pretty much wrap it up. I do want to thank you guys all for stopping by. To my family members, I love you. I appreciate your support. I will try to notify you earlier. We actually we got all set up here about 6 o'clock, and then we got everything set up and we're doing some test runs, and we were like, what's going on? We don't have any audio. We need a microphone. What's going on here? So so it took a little while to figure that out. So next time we'll try and give you guys more of a heads up. Where this seemed to work out nicely. If you guys can leave, this comment section will stay up even when the live stream closes for a couple minutes. If you can leave a comment for what you think might be a convenient time for you. I know on the West Coast, this is about an hour back, so this will be starting at 6 o'clock. So leave us a comment on that. What time you think would be convenient for you. We appreciate your support. Yes, the little darling does look beautiful.
Thank you, Angela.
I will acknowledge that comment, and I'm blessed to have her. I don't deserve her for a day, but once again, thank you guys for coming by. We appreciate your support.
Yeah, like Simply Jen is saying, I hope you guys have a blessed week and Merry Christmas, because that's true. We're probably not going to see.
Oh yeah, Christmas
right around the corner. So yes, have a Merry Christmas. I was working on this, Angela. You might like that. You can't see it really well. It's a 12 Days of Christmas book for the kids.
If you angle it down, it won't get so much glare.
So it's like an interactive book that I'm working on. I know I'd say I'm logging off, and then I'm like, let me show you real quick. So it's an interactive book with the 12 Days of Christmas.
We actually had that on standby so that we could pull that up if it got slow in here, but we didn't get to that. So thank you very much. We'll see you guys later.
Have a blessed day.
Merry Christmas. And to all, a good night.